I'm Tom Hodgkinson, and this is another episode of Idle Talk, and I'm here with Dom Joly. Hello, Dom.
Hello.
And,
We've got two cameras. Amazing.
We've got two. Yeah, it's very sophisticated here now.
I expected an Idle Talk to literally be in a pub with a man somewhere over in the other side with a phone, but this is quite professional.
Yeah, we're very professional, very hard-working.
I'm quite disappointed with the Idler Academy so far.
It teaches on bourgeois, doesn't it?
Well, no, because everyone's working.
Yeah, I know.
I thought I'd be smoking opium by now.
Well, we did try that at the beginning at not working, and then we realised that we were going to go bankrupt in about 3 seconds.
See, that's the problem of being professional idle.
Well, the idea was that we would hire staff to do the work for us.
While you idled?
But while we idled. But the staff thought that it was called the Idler Academy, therefore they didn't have to work, and they would be sitting around.
So you ended up paying for people to idle.
Exactly.
So you thought you might as well do it yourself.
So we had to very quickly educate ourselves in the basic rules of business.
I think this falls under the title of First World Problems, doesn't it?
No, it's not at all. I think running a small business is a global issue.
Yeah, but not called the Idler, with a bookshop and some people downstairs giving punctuation lessons. I don't know. Anyway, I'm
called
all
the
for
school.
it.
We're educating people.
I'm all for it. Well, you know you're a hit because David Beckham walked in the other day, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we got some celebrity book buyers.
And you know he's for real because he didn't even recognise him. So.
And we are selling books, which is, some of the old Idler fans say, why do you keep sending me these emails, selling me stuff?
Yeah.
When you told me to be anti-consumerist. And I was like, well, we're selling books and Latin lessons, and there's no advertising on it, and that's not.
But
so
technically,
evil,
they're correct. It is consumerist, isn't it?
Technically, but I'd make an exception for things like books and.
The thing I hate the most. I hate people sending me stuff saying, "Would you like this?" But when I go right to the bottom and find the unsubscribe and actually go through all that, and they go, "Why are you unsubscribing?" I go, "Look, I'm finding you do it." And then they send you an email, so just to let you know you're unsubscribed. That's a first world problem. But.
So, Dom, your new book is out kind of nowish in May. What's the title and what's it about?
The title is Here Comes the Clown, and it's I said when I was very arrogant and young that no one should write an autobiography till they're at least 60, and that was the time when Martine McCutcheon was in her third one, I think, at the age of 22. But then I was offered a vast amount of money in 2004 to write an autobiography. So I said, I'll do a spoof one. And then I wrote this very confusing book, which was actually supposed to be a spoof, but actually was sort of vaguely my early life, but with a lot of lies. And so it just completely failed because people are like, I'm not sure if this is a biography or it's real or whatever. So with this one, I thought, okay, I hate autobiographies that start with 2 boring chapters of, even Keith Richards growing up is not interesting. So mine starts on the day I became famous, when I heard the mobile phone go off on a train and someone went, hello. And then literally then just takes you through my complete fucking up of a showbiz career, but having a lot of fun. So it's 15 years of how not to do showbiz, really.
Okay, so but going back before the famous moment, you didn't grow up wanting to be a comedian. I mean, your first few jobs were kind of quite conventional by comparison, weren't they?
Yeah, I definitely grew up knowing I didn't want to work, really. I just hated work. My dad, took over the family company, which was like a shipping agent in Lebanon. And I think technically I was supposed to do that, but I think he knew and I knew that I literally couldn't even tell you what he did. It just looked so boring and so stressful. So all I knew was that, I remember my dad saying, I was saying, I don't want to work 50 weeks a year to afford to spend the 2 weeks doing what I want to do. I want what I do to be what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying, you're a very lucky person if your job is what you want to do. And
if you can pull that off.
Yeah, and I'm like, fair enough, he was like World War II generation, but I'm like, well, I'm sure it's possible. And that was just when the sort of, that title Slacker was coming out, which is a sort of American Idol, really, wasn't it?
That's exactly the time when we were starting the Idol. That was 1992, 93. And I think I had a similar feeling, and so did lots of people. Why can't I? Am I doomed to this kind of wage slavery, or is there some other answer? Can I make money out of doing what I enjoy?
In the old days, even if you didn't like what supposedly, I don't know what your parents did, whatever, but stockbroker or the city, it didn't matter if you were any good at it. You were just given the job, and you either did it and did very well, or just potted along, I think. But now suddenly everyone can do it, and they're much better than us. So why on earth should we do that when we're terrible at it? So that's what we ended up doing. But I didn't want to be a comedian, because when I grew up, being a comedian wasn't even a possibility of a career. I mean, there was Morecambe and Wise. I remember I went to school with the son of Dave Allen, and he came to the school and he sat in a chair and told some funny stories. But there were only about 3 comedians in Britain. So I suppose if I wanted anything, I wanted to be a pop star. I grew up in Beirut, and again, you think, what do you do in Beirut? And I remember being so excited that Stuart Copeland of the Police was born in Beirut. I was like, oh my God, someone from here did something, sort of thing. So that gave me hope. But then I realized I had no musical talent whatsoever. Although I was in a band, and I was a singer in a band called Hang David, and we briefly toured the States, supported the Tom Tom Club, and then I was booted out of the band for being arrogant, I think, and not being able to sing.
Both very good reasons.
Yeah.
Well, there's the second one anyway.
Yeah.
So you were looking at a career in showbiz then?
I was a runner making sandwiches in the kitchen, first rung of show business, and suddenly I get a call out of blue, and I'd filled a form out at uni to be an intern at the European Commission. I'd completely forgotten about it, but it's because I speak languages. So anyway, somehow they'd found me, and they ring me in the kitchen of MTV, and they go, is that Mr. Joly? I go, yeah. They go, this is Susan Beresford in Prague. You've got the internship, and when can you join us in Prague? And I was like, Prague? What? So anyway, normally you'd go to Brussels, and very boring, but because Eastern Europe was collapsing, they opened up little embassies. And I have no idea this happened. But anyway, I went downstairs, resigned, and they said, oh, have you got another job? I go, yeah, I'm off to be a diplomat in Prague. And that was it. So anyway, I came back from there, having done very badly, and thought, well, that looks good. If you've worked abroad anywhere, it impresses people in Britain. So my CV now read International Herald Tribune in Paris and diplomat in Prague. And I got a job as a political producer for ITN in Westminster. So for 2 years, I had a pass. I could wander around the House of Commons. And I worked for this guy called Andrew Roth, who made these little books called Parliamentary Profiles, where he just amassed all these notes on MPs, and he was kind of totally obsessed with it. So I did half that, and I amassed this unbelievable knowledge, useless knowledge of all these Tory MPs through him. And just as I thought I could do something with it, Blair came in, won, and all those MPs got shoved out, and so they were completely useless, my knowledge. So I carried on for a bit with that, and then fell into comedy.
And how did you fall into comedy?
I fell into comedy because I was really enjoying working at ITN, and I would be sort of given the little jobs. So I wouldn't do the big interviews, but I'd go out on the green and get the sound bites from politicians. And I started getting really bored, and I started ringing up friends and saying, I'm going to be interviewing David Mellor at 10. Why don't you come down and do something in the background? Mellor was Minister of Sport and Culture, so I suggested they play a game of football. I don't think I suggested they did what they did, but anyway, I'm interviewing Mellor, and suddenly football comes out of nowhere, smacks him in the face. And, very bad for Mellor, but I thought it was just what the public wanted. And ITN saw it, thought it was a mistake, and put it out. But about the third time this sort of thing happened, and Paddy Ashdown's being interviewed and there's clowns fighting in the background, they realised, and they fired me. And so I suppose I kind of just liked the rush of being a bit subversive. I kind of loved being in Parliament. I loved the adrenaline of being in Parliament. I'm a political junkie in that I love politics. I haven't got any particular political beliefs, but I love the sort of just the excitement of being politics. And I think I realised quite early on that I was never going to be a successful journalist, because to do that you have to really want it, and I'm too lazy.
Yeah.
So I think I just realised that maybe there was this middle way that I could still be part of politics by somehow just creating weird, because there were so many news programmes wandering around, and all they wanted was something to fill. There was a time when Jeffrey Archer was running for mayor, and it's a very long story, but I was dressed as a gorilla, and I just chased him around for a couple of days, and every time he came out, I just threw bananas at him. And Michael Crick, who was on Newsnight at the time, was filmed all this, and he ran up to me afterwards. He goes, "Who are you? I need to know who you are." And I just ignored him, walked off. He goes, "We won't put this on Newsnight unless you tell us." And I just walked off. Of course they did put it on, so I started to create little scenes that news couldn't resist.
Yeah, little interruptions.
Al Fayed's in court, and when he comes out, we'd have a whole lot of people dressed, having a very random demonstration, and it never made any sense. That's what I loved about it. So newspapers would put it in because it was a great photo, but they'd always try and explain what was going on, because they assumed that once when we chased Portillo around, when he wanted to be the leader of the Conservatives, Portillo was Spanish originally, so I thought it would make sense that his Mexican relatives would come over to cheer on his campaign. So every time he was interviewed on the green, we'd arrive as a travelling mariachi band with big signs saying, "Portillo for el Presidente." And we just did it for a laugh. But of course, there were all these theories. Is it the Young Conservatives? Is it and all these people doing it. And I love just chucking that in and then watching people trying to work it out. Because essentially, my book should be called There Is No Point. Because I just love the pointlessness of comedy. I hate comedy that is trying to teach you something, tell you something. It's just I don't know, ruining it for everyone is what my wife says should be on my... I just like fucking about, basically. And until someone stops paying me, that's what I do, really.